So I was talking about actually we're talking about the AU. We were talking about the movement. So I was mentioning, as I was mentioning, that when it comes to this, I think that there are levels where you I think now there are levels where you really want to because you have done business so much in this particular country that now ideally you go to the standard check, but now you have proved you have like a valid proof of your intention to really work in this country. So if you look at EU nations as compared to now East African nations and the African nations in general, I think within Africa setting we have a lot of barriers when it comes to business, when it comes to navigating this world. Well, they might be justifications around it, but to some extent they becoming quite a bit. So for me, what you're asking Jeff is that do you think there's a lot of constraints? Yes. Uh, are they justified? Maybe yes and no. To some extent, they may be justified. To some extent, they may not. So we need to find a way where we are training. We find that in what I was mentioning about the body touch, we go to the European nations, there's ease of trade because you can pause. If you have one visa, you can use it across the European nations. So we should have, as much as there has been talks around making stuff all making Africa trade, but we haven't gotten there yet. Because, you find that there are barriers. There's this guy called Wademaya. You guys probably have seen him. He's been traveling across Africa. But you find that normally places a lot of time. Comes to sometimes they have lost girls to bribery. Their country have to bribe people to get those countries able to venture into those countries. And sometimes that person coming in there like that would Myers can showcase what you guys have as a country. Which like really look at now tourism. Looking at tourism, we didn't allow someone like Speed to come here. We don't allow people like Neymar to come here. How will the world know what we have to offer? If an investor maybe has money and wants to come to Kenya and invest in Kenya, but he doesn't know ideally what can I come to invest in Kenya. He doesn't have a picture of what is going on. So these tourists, these people are coming and they create that exposure that they know we have to offer. And that ideally raises interest in investors outside there. They can come and also put their money. Rising investors and also get to sure as investors come, we reduce the red tape, reduce the bureaucracy. Make it easy for these investors wakuje waweze kuinvest. Kama ni investor anatoka Nigeria, anatoka within Somalia, was coming to this country, anatoka from, as long as we have gauged their interest, we have looked at their security and we have given them a pass, and maybe the evaluation can be done maybe as a trading block, then we allow the trade to take place. And I think with that, we can have an exchange of value between these countries.
Because before we bring you in the other one, I think we as started to our respective governments, let's try to prepare them. They do deserve a chance for trying to bring that contribution. Because as we all know, initially we had Kenyan passports, Tanzanian passport. Each country had its own passport. But right now we have the East African passport. If you want to go to Tanzania, you will only need your passport at the end of it. You won't be needing to
A passport on?
yellow fever. Yellow fever. That's if you're going for other reasons about
What do you mean by yellow?
the yellow fever test. Yellow fever test. But now if you're going there to things pertaining to business and when they're you have to follow the prerequisite requirements that country. Get. So from my point of view, at enhancing and making sure that okay, each and every person, the different countries, only the out of the question, do you think that the structures, the ones that do they require some fine tuning it? effect
now,
of updating them because they were there from 2010.
yes, as world grows, everything grows. Where is this law will make sense? No matter that and another. So we will always keep developing and upgrading our laws in terms of the government with the essence of what is best for us. Now, I say that structures are there. However, there is need to recheck, not just as my fellow analysts have said, that there is there are those barriers that need to be checked. And it clicked to my mind that I now start to view Africa that why would we have these barriers?
That's a good question.
Right? And now I'm thinking that, and he's comparing Africa to a EU, and if you compare the developments of these two countries, that's very different. I gave you an example of my friend who went to China. This guy told me that when you stand, like for example, we have our expressway, on top of our expressway, there in China, you see a road below, you see another one above. So you're like, where am I?
The architecture is well built.
So you see those kind of development nature, we are not yet there. And will we be there? It's a debatable because we also have the undeveloped countries for us to have them. So now that Africa is still developing and growing, there is still that dream that if I give you that chance, in your country will grow more than my country. Okay? So they have to restrict what they have, the list they have from EU or from the countries that are growing. Because these opportunities, they will realize that they all come from the countries. So now a fast come, fast start, and if you get your goal, you have to protect your goal.
Quite an interesting question, which has echoed something in my mind that I want to share with you. Do you think it's every member country should have reservation when it comes to the labor part of it? For example, segmenting this type of job role is supposed to be done by members of this country for it to be an open market because it is. Because one of our countries was trying to push that there are certain points that foreigners can they are only reserved with the federal government. Do you think like that's a valid justification to take that reservation? Or it will bring further barriers and more challenges and it's
Which job you can do, you can do difficult. But like lamp, both nothing and good job, somebody may like building or stuff. Just be a site manager. Not that is the only job he can do, but he like that. For example, I can give you a lucrative job, but you don't like it. You will not do it, or you just do it because of money. So you not fully perform your fund. That's the point. So whether you can or not, you cannot do job, or the countries to some reservations on certain jobs. That one, I don't think it's the right direction. Because jobs comes in someone's choice, unless it's a professional job. It's only professionalism that equalizes everyone. However, every other job, because even professionals like unprofessional jobs.
So you share this just to suggest. I think when it comes to work relations, depend on a couple of different factors. So one, if the professionalism is talking within those kinds of problems, to me, I don't prefer the word design. I'll go with an open end, where as long as you're qualified for that test, you're allowed.
I don't drivers, but the whole reservation program so control. They they don't require for example, yes, as long as you have your hand.
No, no, for me, it comes to me, it comes to formal jobs. It's still, you should still have an interview. Because there's some jobs that require you to be skilled, but there's some jobs that require you to be driven. So it will depend on whichever side you take. If you come to professionality, not it's professional jobs, not the formal kind of sector. Other than just be driven once you are professional, which means something that you have worked in schooling, you have studied, you are qualified, or you have some level of experience working. But there are jobs that, even if you are professional but don't have the time, also ideally get cut out. Because if you're not a good medic, you just don't do school and you're hobbies, just you're good. In terms of book work, but now in terms of actually practice, you can't handle the job. You can't look at someone that going through all the stuff, kind of stuff, and I think that one means that you are not cut out of that job as much as you're qualified. So then if you come to the informal jobs, you might that now it comes to the grind. Everyone can qualify. Like what we are the first to talk about this other formal sector. If the Kenyans qualify the most jobs, but what they do, you don't have the drive. If you don't have the drive, if someone is from another country who wants to do that job, let them do it. There's no need for anything, not bad, having a bad of stuff. So to me, the whole concept of bad, to me, the way I see the world, as much as we have all this kind of dialects, all this kind of diversification, if you look at the human species, human beings are just humans. At the end of the day, you might change color. Because today I'm black. What if tomorrow I marry a white person? That kid becomes white. Now will you say that kid is less black? It's just it's now white. You say I'm American. I'm an American. Or my grandfather was an American. My grandfather was a Kenyan.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we are people. So we have a common ground that everyone is looking out for to make a greater good out of themselves, to better themselves, to move from one step to another. So as long as we have that common, and we have also the golden rule of do no harm, do what you expect the other person to do, you also have to do. I would like to be in a country where if we are privileged, assuming you are the privileged end, or you are on the other side of the end. If you are, let's say you are on the disadvantaged end. We have built this country with safe then we have built it to a point where it's a good country. We are proud of it. But there's someone who's coming from another country and saying, I want to be part of this thing. If you're looking at it from that angle, and you're looking at it from the angle of the person seeking this opportunity, would you like to be a point where you say, okay, you guys go and fix whatever you have there. Maybe whatever they have there, he can't fix it. Maybe he wants to learn from this country, go and fix it back there. Because we have seen that happen. So we should allow people to just also freely work with other people. Because I don't like the concept of barring. Because I've seen, even within specifically my domain in terms of IT, I was in a meeting and we were doing this training. Right now, AI is a big thing. We're doing training of models, and there was a meetup. And unfortunately, I was invited to one of the meetups for this company called Outline. So, following up their meetings, I was asking them, okay, so we are being an onboarding meeting, but I'm from Kenya, and whenever I open an account there, I'm just going to account to about that application. Then I asked these guys, I asked the team leads from those countries, why am I being banned on the basis of my location? On basis of you have not evaluated me. How do you know I'm able to do the work or not? If you bar me based on you are not able to do this job, I'll feel justified. I'm not qualified. Go and back work on my skills and then come back. But I don't think it's fair that within the human race we treat each other as if someone is coming from Kenya or America, we are different. We're just the same people.
What was their response?
The response is that we have this thing where we bar this other country because it's a policy. They don't go beyond that. But it's policy, but it's discrimination of something. Because it's not justified.
I think people who have tried, they share it. I've heard stories, also addicting. So many people say, you apply for a job, last night, you screen your document, but then when it comes now to that one-on-one, there's where you okay,
There's
you're
some
ghosted, you're ghosted. Some ghost you, some just stay blatantly, accept people that side of the world. Bracket. So if I go to a certain restaurant, when it comes to them, and they know there is students based on geography and country, so the driven by value.
exactly.
Value, what you can
That's
what
that's
I
now
can
the goal. You're people go.
get. And just to tell you that we dwell so much on the talking about what are some of the policies in Africa that have been there and there are being continued or being worked on guide us as a community, not just ever being some of the existing policies.
Existing
Policies.
policy.
Yeah.
So when it comes to policies, um, from I can't speak from a point of facts right now, but I think we can speak of from statements of projection or from what people can say as a point of reference. So to me, I still think there's there's kind of still a balance. There are people who still have access. They can't get, but I don't think they come legally because of that. Some of them come, some come. Um, so there's that openness that there will be stuff like that. We don't have that kind of rigid kind of constraints. It's only that when you get caught up with the law, then now those processes get applied. So there's that. But also, when it comes to business, because remember, if you're coming to invest in the documentation now, all this. So,
I'm not a good one. It's only sorry for that. Policies of the government currently existing policies. Yeah. Making the
new business. So with that current policy that I think I still think they're possible. I still think that who want to travel between Kenya, Uganda, Kenya, and there's still some barrier. There's documentation, permits, I think they are there. So that one, I think there are those structures. Whether those structures ideally serve the interest of these members of these countries or members groups, that's what we better. So to some extent, some are said, because sometimes we find that there are even countries that there are companies that maybe have moved out of Kenya because of they find that the policies that are there in Kenya are so kind of difficult to work with. If it does now taxation, such things gets to apply. Those taxation, maybe someone is used to maybe relief. Maybe the country, come to Kenya, maybe it's a taxation. That's
before I break even, currently the community, the common markets, open on the there has been there. And if the primary policy is enhance the improvement of free data within the community, can I study what additional survival between the get on. So that's what the goal is. And maybe if you are aware of it,
Yeah, so from my point of view, I can't say that. To me, I just know that there are trade restrictions. There. Yeah, it's negotiation with taxation. Just policy, I know there are trade restrictions. That's what. Other than what you mentioned, that's what I think I have. I think that that's the policy.
you also have the FTA, now being a problem. I am trade area that is supposed to open the border country for goods and services development. So we can also continue to enlighten.
And also, you mentioned that also some stuff. When we as African countries, but we mentioned the European. African countries also have African. Yeah. Do you think is I can't speak, I can't, because I haven't done a background check on it. But do you think it's really pushing the agenda of Africa forward? Just to unify Africa and in regards to trade, in regards to economic development, in regards to the general productivity of Africa, in regards to securing African interests. Do you think the African Union ideally is, because if you're talking about trade, if you're talking about business, you're talking about security, you have to also look at it from the African perspective. And being that we don't only have the member states within the whole doctrine of the East Africa, we also have the African Union as an organization. But does it serve the interest of the business and trade within? What's your guys' take? Do you think it really serves that?
And bring
Well, African Union, is with regard to what I've watched on YouTube, like, for example, yellow news, normally I've been mentioning it, like, every interview that Tanzania, or even watch the late Raila Amolo Odinga doing for Africa. You realize that there is a gap. And these guys are still come back to my past. We are still developing. Okay? There is greed between every country. So those barriers will stay. They are still, I still see them be there, I still see them be there for the next decades of years. Because they are still. And number two, you will realize that if you have a difference between the humble background family and the fortunate family, those are the rich and the poor. Apart from now the G to G barriers, now we have the barriers within the countries as well. So you can see how big these things are, right? So unless I go and do more of the research about that, that's what I can say.
Okay, we can.
Before I share my sentiments, I just wanted to lighter note. Initially, we had the only expression of African Union. Currently, we have the same thing. So when you say we are still developing, we've been developing for over 60 years.
We're just kind of developing, but again,
Also, I think that let's develop. See what has failed most Africa. Not that we don't have the capacity to develop, not that we don't have the human resources to develop. It's leadership. We will have been developing at a faster rate. We have been having talks that what when the president of Kenya has mentioned Singapore, Malaysia. Those are countries that when we're getting independence, they have the same level. But why are they developing as fast as they are? Not because they have more resources. Some of them have disparity in terms of resources that what we have in Kenya. Kenya right now, we see where we are sitting. It's a cool environment that we didn't do anything yet to set this up. For the most part, it's a natural setting. For the most part, rather than the built environment. There are countries that struggle with that. There are countries that they have very little. They have to set up all this. Get we can have things going naturally. They have to do that. So Africa. That's why I was pushing that question. because the African
all that was very unfortunate. All of this, they just have to go about it. I look at it, I used to buy as a data page about the business.
you're allowed to pass.
When it comes to the vegetable product, I think we must put the political.
Yeah.
The question is whether it's likely to be many aspects, steering back the conversation. If it begins not what I ever believe najisikia kwenda Ghana ili skills maybe go and learn you go and teach them but it's very hard for you to do that. Number two, are you aware that it's very cheap for somebody, for example, for somebody you get if you want to go via air, via flight from France, go to maybe let's say the Nordic country, Sweden, maybe that's a good one. Maybe you might go want to go from France to Switzerland, for example. It's very cheap via air. Come again, you want to move your group using an aeroplane, you don't get you want to take them, it's very expensive, very expensive. Yes, so that's a youth the economic strategy. Politics maybe it's working, but now you cannot have politics right now. So economically, socially, it's not okay because
So tender is not. So, and the reason for the sea, will tell you, the sea first of all, you have to solve the problem. You have to first identify a problem, see why it's not working, then now see how it can make it work. I think it still comes down to leadership. The reason why it's not working, because the interest of Africans comes to leadership and institutions. I don't think it's working. See, if the AU is working, which country get upset working? They can't outside the country. They can't African countries together. We have seen this guy, Ibrahim Traore, from one of the most controversial leaders in history, that's the African Union. The reason why it's gaining controversy is because one is implementing what is ensuring that leadership. Right now, I think they are forming what they are calling the Sahel states. So they are forming this union. Now they can make the whole stuff work in their own country. So I think that leadership is failing us to some extent. It's the influence of foreign powers that are there for some of this benefit out of the efficiency of not working. Because the benefit of that, they don't want effective leaders to hold those positions, those African unions. So the politics still plays a central part. As long as we have leaders, I think we can change that narrative. Because I believe that as we speak here, it's whatever we have here, we get it done in one year. If we have leaders who think that we can change, we can have Africa in the center of our politics. And when it comes to now the state position, we have effective. We have people being voted in based on the capacity or the vision they have for Africa. Then we can have a whole economic sector that is working for Africans. Because right now, what Ibrahim Traore was asking us, how can you talk about me coming to vote the AU when this the Congo has been conflict for very many years, and the conflict is kind of orchestrated? Because you find that this war is not ending, but if you look at it, it's now what we call. The guy was telling me that Congo is one of the countries that it's blessed and cast at the same time. Exactly. Because they are so rich that now, to some extent, they can't enjoy that the richest thing. In Congo, there's a lot of difference. But because there's Western powers here, there, the global